Was President Donald Trump an FBI informant against Jeffrey Epstein? Apparently, the answer is yeah.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
All right, that's Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who talks really fast when he's nervous. So I just want to make sure, did he say that Donald Trump was an FBI informant?
He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
Okay, yeah, apparently he was. So Donald Trump, not only a successful businessman, Donald Trump, not only a best-selling author, not only a casino mogul, a star of The Apprentice, and the greatest president in the history of the United States of America, but also an FBI informant working with law enforcement to bust Jeffrey Epstein, which would fly in the face of all of the rumors that Donald Trump is somehow embroiled in this Epstein saga, or this Epstein crisis, or this Epstein, corrupt, disgusting criminal ring of pedophiles, unlike some other famous politicians like, Bill Clinton.
2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world.
And that was one of the victims speaking out outside the Capitol building yesterday in Washington, D.C. about Jeffrey Epstein, about Ghislaine Maxwell, about Bill Clinton, and about all of the other notable, powerful figures that she saw. In fact, a lot of Epstein's victims came to the Capitol building and met with leaders, met with Congress people, met with Mike Johnson, and spoke out about Ghislaine Maxwell, spoke out about Jeffrey Epstein, spoke out about the horrors that they saw. But not one of them ever talked about President Donald Trump.
Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
That was a resounding no from everybody that was there. In fact, one of the lawyers for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein spoke up and said Donald Trump not only wasn't present in the orbit of Jeffrey Epstein, wasn't on any of these flights, but was the one person who really was aiding the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, especially in the early stages.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
That is, again, one of the lawyers in the Jeffrey Epstein case who's representing the victim, saying Donald Trump was helping us. Donald Trump was doing whatever he could to give us information. We didn't even have to subpoena him. He was there giving testimony. And when you couple that with the fact that apparently Donald Trump was working with the FBI,
He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
it definitely seems that Donald Trump is the good guy in this scenario, as much as the media and the left try to paint him as the bad guy. Also, some folks on the right, too. Donald Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein, Republican Mike Johnson claims. This from The Independent. Donald Trump was an FBI informant on convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, a senior Republican has claimed. Mike Johnson also told CNN That's right, not very reputable. That Trump thought what Epstein did was a terrible, unspeakable evil, and that the U.S. president had been misrepresented throughout the controversy over the files during the second term. Mr. Johnson's comments come after months of speculation regarding a client list that Attorney General Pam Bondi said in February was sitting on her desk. The Wall Street Journal later reported that Ms. Bondi had informed Mr. Trump that his name had appeared several times on the list, which is understood to have included names of influential figures associated with the sex offender. Epstein was found dead in his cell in August 2019 while awaiting trial on a number of sex trafficking charges. His death was ruled as a suicide, but has prompted countless conspiracy theories and public skepticism. Now, while Donald Trump's name may have been in the logs, it had nothing to do with clientele or flight logs or anything else like that. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein ran in the same circles because they were both very wealthy New Yorkers at the time. But there is information about a GOP donor, according to Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie, who is, well, a Kentucky congressperson and arch nemesis of Donald Trump, not because of Epstein, but because of various different budget factors that Donald Trump is not happy about Thomas Massie with. Thomas Massie came out and said that there is a major donor to the GOP on the list, and that is one of the reasons why Donald Trump may have tried to keep it secret as long as possible.
Well, let me give you the name of one of the billionaires who's running $2 million of ads in my district since I started this effort. His name is John Paulson. He's a hedge fund manager and a major donor to the Republican Party, a major donor to the Speaker of the House, a major donor to the president's campaign, and he's in Epstein's black book. Now, that's public, but that's indicative of the types of people who may be implicated or just embarrassed by a complete release of these files.
Okay, so now Thomas Massie is saying it's not Donald Trump, but it's people who supported Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump, but it's people who gave money to the Donald Trump campaign. It's not Donald Trump himself, but there are some high-profile, very powerful, very rich Republican donors that are trying to save face, that are trying to save their fortunes, and that are trying to keep themselves out of prison. And that may explain why Donald Trump was an FBI informant way back in the day before he became president. That may explain why Donald Trump was working with the lawyers and trying to get Jeffrey Epstein arrested or at least brought to justice. This story just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier. Last week, everyone was saying Donald Trump was on Epstein's list. This week, they're saying he's an FBI informant. What next? He's a Navy SEAL, or he landed on the moon with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong? If, of course, you believe that Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong actually landed on the moon. Many people don't. One thing's for sure, the Epstein saga, the story of the Epstein files, who's on the list, who's guilty, who did what to whom, with whom, that story continues. It may not be anywhere near over. In fact, it may just be beginning. Either way, we'll keep bringing you the information as it unravels. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and set the notifications so that when the next baffling bombshell drops, you'll be the first to know.